We'll go through those inshallah. But what happened was that sometimes, like, you will see some people write an autobiography, or sometimes they write biography in their lifetime. Usually happens afterwards. Now the autobiography can have different purposes. Mufti Saab's got one called Yadi Ayyam. So I haven't read the whole thing, but I read a few parts of it. So in his own lifetime, he wrote some of the. So Yadi Ayyam. So it's like a brief memoir of things that happen in life. Sometimes the students write it. So in here, he didn't tasdeeq of it. That, okay, I've read it, and this is it. But he put one important point in here, which is very useful. He says here, he goes, Albatta halat ke hisse mein bawajood sihat waqiyat fart mohabbat mein baaz maqamat par qadre mubala ho gaya hai. When he's writing about me, so he goes, even though it was correct, he says that out of the muhabba and the love, the person who wrote it, the person who wrote it is called Mufti Muhammad Rizwan. He's got a lot of books. You can go check him out. In fiqh, he's got a lot of books as well. So he wrote this, and he goes, Farti muhabbat, he has a lot of love for me. Because it's muhabba, it's a bit mubalagha, even though it's not out of the fold of sidq. I was reading yesterday, I can't remember where, but they're saying that, in English, they had 3 words they use for kidh. So one is white lie. So even that's very interesting discussion from fiqh perspective. Like a white lie is like, if a child asks where babies come from, so you just say something which is as close as possible without confusing them. Not baby, the children ask you certain things. Like, for example, there was one person I knew of that had dementia. I think he's passed away now as well, and his wife passed away before him. So if you have dementia, your short-term memory is gone. So his wife passed away, so that memory, every time he goes, Kanche, where is she? So if you keep on saying each time she's passed away, the grief comes back each time. So then they had to say that, oh, kitchen match hai. She's in the kitchen. Oh, kite gilij hai. She's gone somewhere, body gilij hai, yeah, kite gilij hai. So that at least, if you say kite gilij hai, she's gone somewhere, then you could say that. But nonetheless, sometimes there's no darar involved, and it's for the benefit of some things as well. Then one is like the extreme end, which is like you do qasdan kadhib. You're lying on purpose to deceive somebody, to cause them harm. And the in between is what you call mubalagha, exaggeration. So in narcissism, that's very common, that they exaggerate stories to make themselves seem much more important than they actually are. Obviously, narcissism is you can look into that later on. So here he's saying, that he himself is saying that I found it to be like he didn't like it, but because it wasn't kharij al-sidq. So if somebody says, for example, Fulan went to Umrah, he done like this many tawaf a day, and it's like, okay, he done it, but it's like, I don't really like that. Somebody this many khatams in the Quran every year is sidq. But the way, so sometimes I didn't like it. However, so buzurgon ne hamesha jaiz rakha. So if it's permissible, it's not any lies at all, it's absolutely truth. He's saying that the reason he's trying to say, well, why is this in the book in my lifetime? So he's saying that we have akabir and elders before us who allow this. That in their books you find these kind of things. So that's why I left it, so that the person who compiled the book don't hurt his heart, or just to, this is how he wrote it, I don't want to change too much of it. It is true, nothing is lies in there, but it feels to me like it's on the borderline of exaggeration and it's a bit, so I feel a bit uneasy at it, but nonetheless I left it to keep it. So there's one thing we should remember about ourselves, and even any other thing, is that mubalagha, exaggeration, sometimes it can creep into it's very in borderline of kidh. You like exaggerate a story. Sometimes you can change not the actual story itself, but the furu'at of the story. Are you following? Like how difficult it actually was. So it was let's say, for example, somebody, like let's say tawaf example. So it was like 35 degrees. No, it wasn't. It was 25 degrees. So let's say, for example, like 5 tawaf in a day, and now you want to exaggerate that. So it's like 35 degrees heat. So the small furu'at you start, and you have to remember that when you sidq leads to sidq, and kidh leads to kidh. If in a sidq yahdi lil birr, so the more you lie, and hatta yuktaba inda Allah siddiqa yuktaba inda Allah kadhaba. So what they've mentioned psychologically as well, that even these characteristics become, the more you do something, it becomes a better characteristic, becomes embedded in you psychologically as well. So that what the hadith says, that you continue to speak the truth, then truthfulness becomes like your nature. You end up saying the truth more often. And when you lie, then lying psychologically becomes easier for you to lie. Lie becomes like a second nature. So the Prophet ﷺ said these things 1400 years ago. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So this is can be so exaggeration can be borderline. It can go towards that. So that's why he was very cautious of this. Yeah. And then even the author, he himself says this, umuman sawanih nigar hazrat bahut se umur mein mubalagha aarai se kaam lete hain. Now, I tried my best. So he's saying I tried my best not to do mubalagha. The person who ran it, Mufti Rizwan, I tried not to do mubalagha in this. Even though when he presented the manuscript, the Sheikh said, no, I found it a bit mubalagha, even though nothing lies in there, but I found it to be. I checked it, there's no lies, but he's saying I abstained from this because I found jisko batawar khas banda pasand nahi karta hai. And there's two things in here. He says, इसलिए मुबालग आरे से परहेज किया जाए, अलबत्ता उन उमूर को बतौर या तारीखी याददाश्त जमा कर लिया जाए. So he said that if I write something in here, it's not exaggeration, it's the fact, and I've only written it so that it's preserved as a historical reference, whatever reason it may be. Now, sometimes what students or murids or students don't understand is it makes it kind of sometimes it may have a worse effect, more harm than good. Like if you do mubalagha, sometimes it's not if it's mubalagha sidq, and that's meaning like okay, you mention the story which are real kamal. But if you go beyond, say, start modifying the stories, the furu of the story, start modifying them, it actually it kind of lowers the shan of your teacher or the person who's trying to promote, because people think, this is all, it becomes like a joke, becomes like you following? So if it's like a sidq, a true story, this is what happened. Like he fasted every single day. Or let's say, for example, he fasted Sawmi Dawood for 5 years or for 20 years. That's sidq. But you don't have to how much do mubalagha on or he's left very less sehri or he's very less iftari, or keep it as truthful. When you do that, then what happens? It's like when you put false arguments for Islam and then those arguments fall down, it's like okay, Islam has fallen down. It's not true. So if you're trying to put a scientific miracle or a mathematical miracle in the Quran, which is not actually the essence of the miracle of the Quran, and somebody proves that that's not actually right. So that one thing you made as a big hoo-ha about the validity of Islam, that fell. Now everybody thinks the whole Islam is a fault. In reality, it's not Islam. It's that you made that one argument a very strong argument to the sidq of Islam. That's not the main argument. So similarly, if you start doing mubalagha, so the sheikh may be very good, very, very good person, a very good teacher, a very good mentor, but you start exaggerating in praise, then eventually what happens is people look at it, these are not realistic things. You can tell it's exaggeration. And then it's not that the sheikh or the murabbi or the mentor or the teacher is not a good person, but it's that you've actually put him down. Like for example, sometimes you don't even know what's the me'yar of kamal. So when students are trying to praise their teacher, imagine if you say, little kids, my dad wears glasses, but because he likes glasses, he thinks those glasses are very cool. My dad's got shades. So it's like, if you tell an adult that, they'll just laugh at you, okay, little kid, shades is not kamal. You find it, but the kid doesn't know anyone that has shades, and his dad's got shades, so you think, shades are really cool. It's like, so for example, this one of the students saying, no, this teacher is really good. I remember the first day he came into class and he taught us this really, it stuck with me in my life. It's like, there's a sentence in Arabic, it's got a fail, file, and mafool. I was like, what's next? You following? So it doesn't mean he's not a good teacher, but you're a primary student, a first year student, and he's taught you what millions of people know. One's like, okay, there's some great tip. So it doesn't mean the teacher's not a good teacher, but you as a student are not able to understand Kamal. So now you're putting things as Kamal, so not Kamal. It makes it almost your teacher is it's not the teacher's fault. It's like you don't understand the Kamal. Are you following me? So certain things that you don't understand what Kamal really is. So that kind of puts it down. So you have to be careful because you don't know, and it ends up making a mockery of this. There was I can't remember the name. I've added it into Muntakhaba in a new edition. There was one I heard from one of Salim Sahib Hafizahullah when you were earlier in Madrasa, that there was one sheikh. So there were two of them. I think it was A'raj and Imam Sulaiman ibn Mahran. Who's A'raj? Forgot the name. But Imam A'raj from the Ruwat. There was A'raj and that one is can't remember. So one was crippled, slightly had a little cripple, and one had a squint, A'mash. Sulaiman ibn Mahran al-A'mash, and I think his teacher was something A'raj. That was his kunya. So A'raj means slightly, he got a little, when he walks, he's got a limp, and A'mash means a slight squint. So I'm not sure who was the teacher, who was the student, but the teacher said that we're going to the market, don't come with me. So he said, why? Obviously, it's just rephrasing the story. So he said, because when we go to the market, people start laughing at us. That one, A'mash is following A'raj, and they're making a little joke that people used to have. So he said something down the line, says, Ta'thamun وَنُؤْجَرْ. What's it got to do with us? They'll get sins for doing backbiting, and we'll get reward. So the Shaykh replied, who was the elder of them, he replied, he says that, it goes, تَسْلَمُونَ وَنَسْلَمْ خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَنْ تَأْثَمُوا وَنُؤْجَرْ. That if we just, you don't have to, it's not necessarily we go in the market together, people take mick out of us, you walk behind of me, you walk together. If we go to the market separately, we don't walk together, and we don't put up in a position where they tease us, they don't get sinned, we don't get any accused, we don't get like teased, that's better than them being sinful for backbiting us, and we get a reward for that. So sometimes, you benefited significantly. Even Zathani Rahmatullah alayhi has mentioned that a mubtadi should be very careful in promoting his shaykh, because sometimes he's not able to understand how the promotion should be done, how to call people towards his shaykh. And it's not called towards the shaykh, but it's that, I've benefited from my shaykh significantly, and I would like others to benefit as well. But mubtadi, he wouldn't know. So he said that a mubtadi, a person who's not, we say, spiritually mature in that kind of level, he should be very cautious in this. So this is another point he mentioned.